What's up, my little butterflies, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about dun dun dun. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So like I was saying, today we are going to talk about men. Specifically, I want to talk about insecurity in men. Now, I was talking to a friend a while back, and we were talking about how, if you notice, for women, we oftentimes really push self-love, and I don't really see men push self-love a lot. And I feel like part of that is from the way they were raised. And I'm telling you this off of my experience. I have only brothers. Majority of the people in my family are guys. Like, all of my cousins are majority guys. And I've had guy friends. So I'm telling you this from experience. I feel like if men do not heal that insecurity they have that stems from childhood, rejection, first love wounds, they will most likely continue to project that behavior onto another relationship. Even if they say they have worked on it, I feel like men don't truly work on it. They kind of just push it off because of how men have been raised or what they have grown up seeing. If you were raised in a household that is, be strong, don't show no emotion, don't look weak, most likely you're gonna grow up being emotionally unavailable. And the thing is, women are very, very, very emotional people. A feminine woman is gonna be very, very emotional because naturally women are more emotional. And to our hormones, we do have in hormonal balance and stuff like that. So I feel like majority of that stems from there. And so I've noticed what men tend to do is they ignore most of their feelings, and it just builds up over the years. And I've noticed it in the men I've encountered. I've noticed it in the men in my family. Is, for example, let's say if I was a man and I went through a really bad breakup, right? And this girl betrayed my trust, she betrayed me. Now that betrayal, that wound is gonna make me isolate. It's gonna make me cold, and I don't have time to break down and cry and feel a type of way about that because I have to keep it pushing because I'm a man, and men don't show weakness, men don't cry, right? That ideology that men don't cry, men shouldn't cry, has caused so many hurt men out here that continue to just be in the same pattern of negative, toxic ways. And, you know, I am a firm believer in men can be good. There are some good men out there. I genuinely, truly believe in that. But those men have probably done that work to be good men, or they're just really good at hiding it. And that's the thing, is because, you know, there's so many ways men know how to mask their emotions since they've done that since childhood. Or, men can't act tough in front of their boys and shit like that. But I've also met some men that have been, with their boys, and they're gentle, and they have, heart-to-heart conversations, and, they break down crying to each other. And I think there's strength in that because, unhealed women will say they don't want men to cry, but I think a man who cries is a real man. It shows you can be vulnerable. It shows you're human. Men aren't machines. They're not meant to just work, 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 work. They hit a point where I feel like, I've seen men, older men, and I can see that they're miserable in life. I can see that they can have a sweet, loving woman and they're still unsatisfied because they're satisfaction is not in themselves. So that makes them blind to everything else around them, including a good woman. And I feel like that's what happens to a lot of men. And like I see on TikTok and I see the circumstances of girls being like, well, why can't he change, or why can't this, why can't that? And it's like, men are wired differently. They are more logical because of how they were raised. Women were not as logical. When we're going through something, we want someone to be there for us. We want to rant. We want to cry. We want to just let it out, because that's the way women deal with their problems. We cry, we vent, we let it out, we call the girls. Men, on the other hand, I feel like they've been programmed to think otherwise. And that's why I feel like when I see men that are in a good relationship and I see that vulnerability naturally come out, it shows that that man is willing to let down his guard. And the thing though with that is, oftentimes what I see happen is, since men only rely on their woman for that emotional release, it can be toxic as well, because it's like, if you're only releasing your emotions to your woman instead of your whole support system, all that emotional baggage, all that pain is only on your woman. And it's sometimes it's too much to handle, especially if it's years of built up emotion, whether it's anger, sadness, betrayal. That baggage is within you. And I feel like that's a lot of men love, but they can't fully love because they don't love themselves. And when you don't fully love yourself, you're only gonna love that person to the potential that you can love yourself, meaning you're holding back, you're restricting because of past trauma. And I see that happen in a lot of relationship. Girls will be like, well, why isn't he doing this? Like, why can't he be more like that? And I think, like I said, it comes down to the level of maturity, and two, the level of love that man has for himself. If he has a lot of love to give to himself, that means he's going to give you the same amount of love, because he loves himself like that. And I think that's really important in any type of relationship. I've seen it with men who become fathers. Like, you can see that natural vulnerable state, that protectiveness, that urge to be like, oh my god, like, now I know I have a kid, I have to be a role model. And one of my friends who's a father, he explains how he is vulnerable for his daughter and for his wife, and it was hard for him to do that. And I'm talking about Kaio. Check his past video. He's on one of the videos, the self-love series. So shout out to Kyle, you're a really good father. So he mentions that in the self-love series. And I feel like that's where I'm saying a lot of men don't realize how impactful it is to let your woman in, to drop the guard, to just be able to say, you know what, here's my heart. A lot of times women are able to just put their heart on their sleeve. And like I said, this comes down to your personal trauma as well. But it's like, if you guys both work through your traumas, you can see a healthy relationship brewing. And otherwise, men do become controlling when they're insecure. And I've dealt with that. I've seen controlling men, when you're not in control of your own life, you want to control someone else. And men as well. And I feel like that's what insecurity triggers. It triggers you to project. It triggers you to be super, super insecure, meaning you don't want your girl to dress a certain way. You don't want your girl to act a certain way. She can't go there. She can't do this. You're trying to control your woman. You're trying to control your kids because you have no control over yourself, because you don't love yourself. And that's why I think it's important for men to love themselves too. And I don't mean just going to the gym. The gym is a great place to burn that frustration away, burn that anger, burn the pain away. But it doesn't let you talk. I recommend men to keep a journal, because honestly, I think that's one of the best ways to let your emotions out if you can't verbally do it. I recommend keeping a journal because, for example, my brother, I had told my brother a long time ago that he should have a journal, because I feel like, if you can't communicate with the people around you, you can't communicate to your boys, you can't communicate to your family, you can't communicate to your girl, why not communicate to yourself in a journal? And there's plenty of prompts out there. I always say to start from the beginning, start from what triggered you, to lash out. Like, what makes you angry? What makes you sad? Who broke your heart? You know, like, go back to the root of these things so you can start healing and stop projecting your triggers onto other people, because you know, hurt people bleed on others, and it's not their fault and it's not their responsibility. You know, I am a firm believer of being there for someone, but you can't continue to hold their hand their entire journey. Some things are meant to be done alone, some things are meant to be done in relationships. And I think that deep inner trauma is meant to be done alone, and the here and there triggers are meant to be dealt together. You know, I am a very firm believer of that, because most of the time when I was going to therapy, I found it hard to open up. You know, I came from a family that showing emotions is weakness. And so that feminine side of me was very reserved. It was very buried deep within the masculinity. You know, growing up, I felt I had that urge to have to be masculine, to protect myself, to, you know, be a provider, to not show emotion, to not cry. And for most of, like, from middle school to like sophomore year, I did not cry. If I did cry, it would be in the bathroom where no one could hear me, no one could see me, because I was raised to think that that was weakness. And now that I've learned to kind of slowly regulate my emotions, I kind of better can control my emotions. I can cry when I need to. I get angry when I need to. And honestly, it's freeing, because after a long period of time of just, you know, not being able to cry, you become numb. Nothing really hits you the same. And, you know, I love feeling emotions. I love each emotion, you know, the good, the bad, because that's what really makes us human. And I think that shows the strength in humanity. It shows our courage when you can just sit there and cry. Life is hard, it's not easy. So I think when you sit there and you release those emotions, you're making way for a better you. You know, I love to use this image, but it's like a phoenix rising from the ashes. Something about something just rising. Like, for example, I love lotus flowers. They rise from the mud. Phoenix, they rise from the ashes. And, you know, it shows that rebirth. Or, for example, I have a snake on my arm. Shed their skin, they're renewed. And I think that's a beautiful analogy to keep in life. Shed your old skin, allow yourself to continue to get better. Clap for yourself, have those moments, you know, and learn when to take a break, because a lot of men, especially I feel like unhealed, insecure men, don't know how to take breaks. They bury themselves in work, they bury themselves in the gym, and it's like, no. The reason why things aren't working out the way you want them to is because you're not sitting there taking the time to appreciate what you have or appreciate what you've gone through. That is the true strength of endurance, what you've gone through to keep going forward. But that's it for today, guys. I could go off for hours about this topic, but I'm gonna keep it at a minimum. As always, I hope you guys have a blessed day, week, month, and year, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.